Imagine you buy a $5 coffee. Just a coffee, nothing crazy. And 2 days later, your bank charges you $35 for it. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you lied or cheated or broke a rule. You just didn't check your balance closely enough. That $35 fee for a $5 coffee is not an accident. It's not a random glitch in the system. It's a business model. And banks in the United States make over $10 billion a year from fees just like this one. Today we're going to break down how this works, why your brain makes it so easy to fall into, and what you can actually do so it never happens to you again. Let's start with the situation almost everyone has lived through. You check your bank account on a Monday. You've got $200. Feels fine. Not rich, but fine. You go about your week. A subscription renews. A coffee here, gas there. Nothing feels reckless. Then on Thursday, you glance at your phone and your stomach drops. Your balance is negative $18. And underneath that, there's a new line. Overdraft fee $35. You didn't spend $35. The bank charged it to you for the crime of your balance dipping below zero. Here's the part that makes people furious once they understand it. Most banks don't have to let that transaction go through in the first place. They could simply decline the coffee purchase the same way your card gets declined when a shop's card reader isn't working. Instead, many banks quietly approve the purchase, let your balance go negative, and then charge you a fee for letting it happen. It sounds backwards. Why would a business let you buy something you can't afford on purpose? Because saying yes is more profitable than saying no. Let's talk about why this system exists. Because once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. A bank makes money in a lot of ways. Interest on loans, fees on accounts, investing the money you deposit. But overdraft fees are one of the purest profit machines in banking because the product costs the bank almost nothing to deliver. There's no manufacturing, no shipping, no raw materials. It's just a number in a database dropping below zero, followed by an automatic charge. Almost the entire fee is pure profit. And here's the detail that most people never think about. Banks studied for years how customers actually spend money. They noticed something interesting. A small number of customers, often the ones living paycheck to paycheck, overdraft their accounts again and again. For a regular customer, an overdraft might happen once a year if ever. But for a smaller group of customers, it can happen 5, 10, sometimes 20 times in a single year. That group ends up paying an outsized share of all overdraft revenue in the entire banking industry. A relatively small number of people, often people who can least afford it, are propping up billions of dollars in fees. This is where the psychology comes in, because the system isn't just built on account rules. It's built on how human brains handle money. Here's the first psychological trap. We don't feel our balance the way we feel a price tag. When you buy something in a store, you see the number, you feel the sting, and your brain registers, I am spending money right now. But a bank balance is abstract. It's not something you touch. It's a figure on a screen that updates on its own schedule, often a day or two behind your actual spending. So your brain treats your account balance less like real-time truth and more like a rough estimate, something to check later, not something urgent right now. Banks know this. The lag between when you spend and when your balance actually updates is called the float. And it's exactly the gap where overdrafts sneak in. You think you have enough. You don't. And you won't find out until the fee already hit. The second psychological trap is even sneakier. It's called present bias. Your brain is wired to care much more about immediate comfort than about a slightly later cost. In the moment of buying that coffee, your brain isn't calculating, will this push my balance negative? It's thinking, I want coffee now. The future consequence, the fee, the negative balance, feels distant and unreal compared to the immediate want. This is the same bias that makes people snooze alarms, skip the gym, and swipe a card without checking the account first. It's not a character flaw. It's just how human brains are built. Immediate feelings beat distant math every single time, unless you build a system that protects you from yourself.
The third trap is shame. And this one matters more than people realize. A lot of people who get hit with overdraft fees don't tell anyone.
They feel embarrassed, like it proves they're bad with money. So instead of calling the bank, disputing the fee, or switching to an account that doesn't do this, they just pay it quietly, again and again. Banks don't need you to be reckless with money. They just need you to feel a little too ashamed to push back. So now you understand the trap. Let's talk about how it actually works underneath. Most checking accounts have something called overdraft coverage, sometimes called overdraft protection, which sounds helpful, almost like a safety net. In reality, it means the bank is opting you in to let transactions go through even when you don't have the money, so they can charge you a fee for the privilege. Some banks even reorder your transactions during the day, processing your largest purchase first instead of in the order you actually made them. Why does that matter? Because processing the big purchase first can drain your balance faster, causing several smaller purchases afterward to each individually overdraft, turning what should have been one fee into 3 or 4. That's not a coincidence. That's a system engineered transaction by transaction to generate more fees from the same spending. Now here's the insight that actually changes how you think about money. Not just about overdrafts. Fees like this exist because friction and confusion are profitable. Nobody would ever agree out loud to pay $35 so a $5 coffee purchase could go through. If a bank asked you directly, "Hey, do you want to pay $35 extra for this?" you'd say no immediately. So the system is built to avoid ever asking that question directly. It happens automatically, silently, after the fact. The less you notice, the more they earn. This is a pattern that shows up everywhere in personal finance, not just banking. Subscription services that make canceling difficult. Credit cards that reward spending more than saving. Investment products with hidden fees buried in fine print. The businesses that profit from your money often profit most when you're not paying close attention. Attention is the one thing that breaks the system. So what do you actually do with this? First, check whether your bank offers real overdraft protection instead of overdraft coverage. Some banks let you link a savings account or a small credit line. So if you dip below zero, money transfers automatically, usually for a much smaller fee or no fee at all, instead of the standard overdraft charge. Second, look into switching to a bank or account explicitly built around no overdraft fees. Many exist now, specifically because this exact frustration made customers furious enough to leave. Competition has forced some banks to remove the fee entirely.
Third, turn on low balance alerts. This sounds almost too simple, but it directly attacks the psychological trap we talked about earlier, the lag between spending and awareness. If your phone buzzes the moment your balance drops below $50, your brain gets the immediate feedback it needs to actually change behavior, instead of finding out 2 days later. Fourth, and this one matters most, if you ever do get hit with an overdraft fee, call your bank and ask them to reverse it, especially if it's a rare event for you. Banks reverse first-time overdraft fees far more often than people expect, because customer retention is worth more to them than one $35 charge. The only reason this fee machine works so well is that most people never ask. Here's the bigger lesson underneath all of this. Money mistakes don't always come from bad decisions. Sometimes they come from systems that are quietly designed to profit from confusion, delay, and shame. The overdraft fee isn't punishing you for being irresponsible. It's a business model built on the predictable ways human brains handle uncertainty and embarrassment. Once you see that clearly, the fee stops feeling like a personal failure and starts looking like exactly what it is: a design choice made by someone else for someone else's profit. And the moment you understand the design, you stop being the person it was designed for.